Alright, I'm going to be going over the test, so that way those of you who want to retest, you can do so on Friday. Question number 1, let's look at question number 1. Again, I highly recommend that you use a highlighter. Highlighters are very efficient when taking a test. I really think that if you guys would just listen to me and use this as a test-taking strategy, it would help tremendously. So let's look at number 1. The scatter plot below shows the relationship between the number of baseballs used in 14 games and the number of pitches thrown in these games. So if you look at your x-axis, which are these numbers, these are the pitches thrown, so these numbers represent the pitches thrown, and this is your y-axis, and this is the number of baseballs. So if you keep reading, it says, based on the scatter plot, what is the best prediction of the number of baseballs that will be used if 275 pitches are thrown? So if you think about it, we're looking for a specific coordinate. And remember, your coordinates have an x-coordinate and a y-coordinate. What you need to figure out is which one do they want. And so you got to read the question again. What is the best prediction of the number of baseballs that will be used? So think about it. Your x is pitches thrown. So you should label that. This is pitches thrown. And your y represents the number of baseballs that will be used. So number of baseballs. So if you go back to the question, it says, what's best prediction of the number of baseballs that will be used? So this is what they want. They want the y-coordinate if 275 pitches are thrown. So they're giving you the x-coordinate. So all you do is look it up on the graph. Now you should draw a line of best fit. If you notice, this is a positive correlation. The little dots are going up. So you want to draw a line that kind of goes to the middle, something like this. And then what you want to do is look it up on the graph. So 275 is your x, which would be right here between 270 and 280. Go straight up to the line, which is going to be right here. And then they want the y-coordinate, so you want to go straight this way. And it's going towards 100. So we want to pick an answer that's near 100. So if you look at A is 150, that's up here. So that's way off. So mark out A. B is 60, that's too low. C, there it is, 100, perfect. And then 160, that's way up here, that's too high. So the best choice would be C. So 275 pitches thrown, they're going to use 100 baseballs. Alright, so let's look at question number 2 next. Question number 2 wanted to know, what is the value of y in the solution to this system of equations? So think about it. When you have a system of equations, that means you have 2 or more equations. And if you look at the problem, they did give you 2 of them. 1, 2. Solution is going to be the intersection of those 2 equations. Okay? And what they want is the y-coordinate. So think about it. These 2 are going to intersect. Hopefully they will. Sometimes they don't. But if they do, they want the y-coordinate. They want this number from the solution only, the value of the y number. So we do need to graph that. That's one way you can solve this, is go to your graph. Make sure if you have tabs open that you close them out. So Control-N, say no, go back to graphs. Now if you look at the equations that they gave you, they're in standard form. They haven't been solved for y. The y is not by itself. So what we need to do is we need to not type them here. This is only for equations that have been solved for y, because remember, f of x is the same as y. So a shortcut would be hit the delete key and go down to relations. And you can type those standard form here. So the first equation is x plus 2y equals -2. So x plus 2y equals -2. Hit enter. You want to type the other equation on the same screen, so hit tab and then type the second equation. X take away 4y equals 16. So x take away 4y equals 16. Press enter. So they do intersect. Okay, they do intersect right here. Remember, we want the y coordinate only. So the best way to do this is let the calculator figure out what that point is. So hit menu, you go to analyze graph, and you go to intersection. Click on intersection, put the little dotted line that it gives you to the left of the intersection. The intersection is here. I'm going to put it on anywhere on the left side. Click on the screen and then drag it over to the right. So right there is your solution to the system. But remember, they only want the y coordinate. So here's our solution to our systems. This is the solution. But remember, they were specific. They only wanted this number. So the answer would be a negative 3. So you would bubble in a negative and bubble in the 3. Okay? Now, if they had said the value of x, then you would have put 4. If they had said the whole solution, then you would put the coordinate, both the x and the y. Okay? All right, so let's look at question number. Now, another way you could have done that, just for those of you who might like to do that a different way, is use your first app. I showed you this when we did systems. I showed you the two ways. You use the first app instead of the graph app, and you go to menu, go to algebra, and go to solve systems. Here you tell it how many equations you have, you tell it your variables, and hit OK. And then literally you just type the 2 in there. So you type in x plus 2y equals negative 2. So x plus 2y equals negative 2. In the bottom box, you type in the other equation, which was x take away y. X take away 4y, sorry about that, 4y equals 16. And then you just press. Now, if you notice, it's saying the x is first, the y is second. So we need the second number. And there it is again. So those are two ways that you can solve a system. So learn the two ways. It's very valuable to know both. All right, so on number 3, this one was a graph. Which graph represents the inequality? And they do give you the inequality here. So basically what you want to do is just graph. I mean, this question is very simple. Now you do want to pay attention to look at this one. This one has a dotted line. This one has a solid line. So there is a difference from A and B. The shading is the same. The X and Y intercepts are the same, but one is dotted, one is solid. What that means is you would not, if you graph this, you got to check the line. So if it's one of these, you got to check to see which one. Could be one of these. These have the shading below the line, and so you got to see. So all you have to do is graph this. Graph using relations. So you open up your graph, hit Control-N, clear everything out, go back to graph. Remember the shortcut to relation is hit delete, go to relation, and literally just type it in. So let's do that. It was, here's the inequality they want, negative 2x plus 3y greater than 12. So negative 2x plus 3y greater than, you have to hit Control equal and pick the right symbol, and then 12. So this, the shading's on the top. So it is between A or B, but is it solid or dotted? You have to click on the line to make sure that you check. See, that is a dotted line. It looks solid. So if you don't click on the line, you're not going to see what kind of line it is. So it's a dashed or dotted line. And the reason it's dashed is because it's a greater than symbol instead of a greater than and equal. Okay, that's the difference. So the correct answer, you go back to your answer choices, would be A. The correct answer is A. All right, so let's look at the next question. This is question number 4. Question number 4, let me zoom in a little bit here. Question number 4 says that again, use a highlighter. The population of Webb County, Texas from the year 2000 through 2010 is shown in the graph. So here's the population of Webb County, Texas. Here's 2000 through 2010. If the trend shown in the graph continues, what will be the population of Webb County in 2015? So what we need to do is make a prediction using this line. Now, if you think about it, if we extended this line a little bit, it would go off of the graph and it would be hard to make that prediction because 2015 is going to be about right here. So that's not a good idea. So what we want to do is find an equation. When you find an equation of your line, then you can graph it and look on the table and look up 2015. And they did give us 2 points that we can use here. So let's open up what we would want to do here is go to our spreadsheet and go get our equation from our spreadsheet. So when you input points into a spreadsheet, you do need headings. Some of you tend to forget that. You have to put the X and the Y heading and then put the 2 points that they've given you. 0, 193 is the first point. So 0, 193. And then the other point they gave us was 10 to 50. So 10 to 50. If you want an equation, you go to Menu, go to Statistics, go to number 1, Menu 4.1, and then pick number 3, Linear Regression. Here you have to tell it where you typed your X list, which is under the X heading. That's why you need those headings. Here you tell it that the Y list is under the Y heading, and then you can hit Tab until you get to OK. And there's your linear function. This is your equation. The M is 5.7, the B is 193. So now we use that. If you write that down, the Y, it's Y equals 5.7x plus 193. Now we're going to use this equation by graphing it. So the spreadsheet app and the graph app kind of go hand in hand. Now you got to type it here. And here's the Y already because f of x is like the Y. There's your equal sign. And then type in 5.7x plus 193. Enter. You can't see the graph unless you zoom out because of that 193. But what we really just need to see the table. And that's Control T for table. And then remember, the first year, if you look back at the problem, it said the number of years since 2000. So this 0 represents 2000, and so 2015 would be wherever 15 would be. So we're looking for, in our table, for 15, this is the year, and we're looking for the population. That's what they want us to answer. What's this number? So we look it up. Scroll down to 15. And it's about 279 if you round it. Let's see what kind of answer choices we have. And these are in the thousands. So if you're wondering, well, why are they big numbers? Well, because they are in the thousands. And so this would round to like 279 or so. And so what I'm thinking is 279,000. So 307,000 is too much. 378.5, there it is right there. If you think about it, it has to be B. They didn't round it. They took that 278.5 and they moved it because of the thousands. There's 3 zeros in thousands, so they moved it 3 places. And that's why it becomes 278,500. So there's your answer right there. Number 4 should be B. All right. So again, spreadsheet and the graph app go hand in hand when you are looking for predictions. All right, so let's look on the next question, question number 5. Question number 5, it says that, let me go back to question 5 here. A college student needs 11 classes that are worth a total of 40 credits in order to complete her degree. The college offers both 4 credit classes and 3 credit classes. Which system of equations can be used to determine F, the number of 4 credit classes the student can take to complete her degree, and H, the number of 3 credit classes? So again, they give you the variables and what they represent. F are the 4 credit classes. So 4 and F should be together, plus H is referring to the 3 credit classes. So 3 and H should be together. And the total of that, depending on how many hours that she takes, the credits here that they said that the total would be, this is your total here, would equal to 40. Now she did take 11 classes, and that's another total, but this is just for strictly just classes, and that's what the F and the H stand for. F is 4 credit classes, H is 3 credit classes. So think about it. If the total is 11, that means 4 credit classes plus the 3 credit classes, which is H, would equal to 11. Okay, so we look for something that looks similar. F plus H, 11. 4 is with the F, plus 3 is with the H, equals 4. There we go. The correct answer would be C.
I'm dying to go.
Sorry about the interruption there. I had somebody come in my room. Alright, so question number 5 was answer D. So just look for those keywords, you know, and look for those totals. Alright, so let's look at question number 6. Question number 6 wants to know, let me zoom in a little bit here, is which inequality is equivalent to, and then negative 3x plus 2y greater than 5y plus 9. They want to know which one of these would be equivalent to that. So in order for things to be equivalent, equivalent means equal. So we want to know that which one of these would be the same as that, equal to that. And so the best way to do this would be to graph them and find out which one, you know, you're going to want to graph this first. This would be graph number 1, and then graph each one of these to see which ones have the same picture. Because if they have the same picture, then that's your equivalent inequalities. So graph each one of these. And so let's go ahead and go to the calculator. We'll go to the graph app for this one. So again, you can't type them here unless they've been solved for y. And if you look at that has not been solved for y. That has y's on both sides. So we do need to use relations in order to type this in. Okay, and so you all need to remember that. So let's go ahead and go to the graph app. Let's hit delete and go to relations. And let's type in the first one. The first one would be negative 3x plus 2y, negative 3x plus 2y, greater than, so I'm going to pick this symbol, greater than 5y plus 9. 5y plus 9. So hit enter. You can see what this graph would look like. Click on the line, that's a dotted line, the shading's below. So we can find another inequality that gives us the same picture. That's the equivalent one. So you want to hit tab and you want to type each one of these. Now I know the correct answer, so I'm just going to go straight to that to save us some time. The answer choice was D. So I'm going to show you how I'm going to graph this. When you got to D, you would have seen the same picture. So let's see, it's y less than negative x, take away 3, press enter, boom, it's the same picture. Click on the line, you'll see that it's dotted as well. So those are the equivalent inequalities. You just need to look for that matching picture. So the correct answer was D. Okay. So again, look for the matching graph. Anytime they say equivalent, you can pretty much almost always graph the problem, graph the answers until you find one that is the same graph. Alright, so let's look at number 6 next. I'm sorry, number 7. Here the scatter plot shows the monthly high temperatures for Austin, Texas. So the monthly high temperatures in degrees Fahrenheit over a 12-month period. Here's the monthly high temperatures. They give you a little graph here. You look at your x-axis, those are the months. You look at the temperature, it's in Fahrenheit. So the question, though, says, which function best models the data from month 1 to month 9? And so what we need to do there is just look at month 1 through month 9 and look at those points only. So you can see how these points are after month 9. And so it's like a little scatter plot. So they want to know which one of those functions would be the best one for that data. And so I think what I would do is I would look at the dots. Here's month 1 through month 9. So again, it's just these dots, and I would draw a line of best fit, which means you want to draw a line kind of that goes through the center of these. And then you want to pick points that are the closest to the line that you can maybe create an equation out of. Or graph each one of these to see which one might have one of these points. Because if you think about it, I see a good point right here we might be able to use. Because that's right there at what, 7 and 109. So, you know, it's actually a pretty good point. If you look at your y-intercept, because you want to see whereabouts it's crossing the y-axis, somewhere between 89 and 93. So, and it's got a positive slope. This has got so the m we know is going to be a positive slope. Okay. And the b, which is your y-intercept, your b is your y-intercept, that's somewhere between 89 and 93. So those are things that we want to look at. Because remember that your equations are y equals mx plus or minus b. So this has a negative slope. I would not pick a. I would eliminate a. This has positive, that's positive. This has a negative slope, that's out. So now I've already narrowed it down to 2 answers. Now we look at my b. My b has to be somewhere between 89 and 93. That's between, or that's 85. That's down here. To me, that just seems way too low. So I'm going with 90. 90 is going to be somewhere in here. So I'm thinking the correct answer is C. Now what I would probably do next is look for that point that I was talking about, or at least kind of see if it kind of resembles that. You could even maybe pick 2 points and do a spreadsheet. But this seems to be the best choice, just from process of elimination. As you can see, I looked at slope. Okay, it had a positive slope, and I looked at my y-intercept, which is where it crosses the y-axis. Okay, so correct answer there was C. Alright, so let's look at question, what question are we on? We're on question number 8. Question number 8 says, which of the following graphs best represents a system of equations that has no solution? So remember, when you're dealing with systems of equations, when you're dealing with 2 or more equations, in this case two equations, then there are times when it's no solution. And no solution graphs look like parallel lines. And they don't have a solution because the solution is the intersection, and these 2 lines will never intersect. Now your lines can be going down, of course. They don't necessarily have to be going up. They could be going down, as long as they're parallel and never going to intersect. So these look like they're going to intersect. If we extend these lines, these are going to intersect eventually. So it's not A. These intersect right there. These are going to intersect eventually if you extend the line, so it can't be that one either. Here's my parallel lines right here. And if you weren't sure, you could always check the slopes, because they would have the same slopes. So like you could do the rise and the run, and the rise and the run to make sure that they do. But it's very obvious. Those look like they're going to intersect those. This right here would be the correct answer, which is D. Alright, so let's look at the next question. Next question is number 9. Which coordinate pair is in the solution set for y is less than 1 minus 6x? So when we did the inequalities, remember, solution set is where the shading is and the solid lines are. Because when you're thinking of a solution set for an inequality, and you'll see what I mean when I graph it, anytime you see a function and you see a graph and you've got some points over here, I mean, the best thing to do is always try to graph. Even if you don't think that you could graph, I would go ahead and just always graph just to see if maybe I could figure out the answer somehow that way. So I do want to graph this. Notice that it has been solved for y, so I can just graph it at the very beginning of the graph app. So I'm going to type that in. Y is less than, so this is my y already, but I do need to change this to different symbols. So y is less than, this is what I need right here. Y is less than, and the rest of that is what? 1 minus 6x. So 1 take away 6x, press enter. I do want to click on the line to make sure it's solid or dotted. So this is a dotted line. So no answers should be here on the line. I'm looking for only answers in the shaded part. So remember, the answers are where the shaded part is, not on the line, because it's a dashed or dotted line. So what we want to do then is we want to plot these points, like 1, 0, and we did show you how to do this using the geometry tool. So you go to menu, you go to geometry, go to number 1, go to point, you open parentheses, and then type your coordinates. So your coordinate is, the first one, 1, 0. So you type in 1, press enter, 0, press enter, and you can see where it plotted it, which is right here in the blank space. So that's not the right answer. So we're going to have to eliminate that one. 1, negative 1, open parentheses, 1, enter, negative 1, enter. That's also in the blank space. So that's not going to work for us either. So we're going to mark out that one next. 0, 1. So let's see where that one is. Open parentheses, 0, enter 1, 0. This one's on the actual dash line, so that's not going to work either, because remember it was a dash line. So we're going to have to exit that one out. So it must be negative 1, 1. We can check. Negative 1, enter 1. Boom, it's in the shaded part. See how it's here where the color is? So that's definitely a solution for this. So there's your answer, guys. It's D. Alright, so let's look at number 10 next. Number 10 says, what is the solution to the system of equations below? So this is like number 2. Going back to number 2, remember I showed you 2 ways you can answer systems of equations. Systems of equations, remember, that just means 2 or more equations. In this case, they're giving you 1, 2 equations. Okay, that's what system is referring to. Solution is referring to the intersection, like if they intersect, because sometimes they do not, so there's no solution. Sometimes they overlap and it's infinite solution. So we need to graph these and we need to see, is it an actual point? Because this is a point here. Is it infinite or is it no solution? So we need to see, do they intersect? Because that would be like these 2 right here. So that one would be a picture similar to this, and so that right there would be your solution. Infinite means it would be the same line, like overlapping, or is it no solution? They'd be parallel lines. That means they never intersect. So that's what we need to look out for. So let's graph these and find out. So again, go to your graph app. I would definitely clear stuff out. Control N. Hit the delete button, go to relations, and let's type those equations. 4x minus 7y equals negative 2. 4x minus 7y equals negative 2. Hit the tab key. Type in 12x minus 21y. 12x minus 21y equals negative 42. So equals negative 42. Here they look parallel, and so it looks like we don't have a solution going on here. Now to check for sure, they would have to have the same slope, because what if, if we extended more this way, maybe they intersect over here. So it's always good to double check. You can check by looking at the slope. So go to Geometry, go to Measurements, go to Slope. Click on this line. See what kind of slope that has. 0.57. Do the same thing for the other one. So Geometry, Measurement, Slope. Click on this line. They have the same slope. That means they are parallel. So yes, no solution for this one. Alright, so let's look at number 11 next. Number 11, it says a new spiral notebook contains 30 more sheets of paper than the new memo book. 30 more sheets of paper than the new memo book. The total number of sheets of paper in 3 new spiral notebooks and 5 new memo books is 810. Which system of equations can be used to find S, the number of sheets of paper in the new spiral notebook, and M, the number of sheets of paper in a new memo book? So first of all, let's identify these variables. It's very important to know what each one represents. The S in these equations represents the number of sheets of paper in one new spiral notebook. So it's the number of sheets, but in a spiral notebook. I'm just going to put spiral. And then M in the equations, these M's here represent the number of sheets of paper in one new memo book. So the number of sheets, but in a different type. They're called new memo books. So I'm just going to put memo. So if you go back and look at the first sentence, it said a new spiral notebook, which is S, contains, which means like equals, 30 more sheets of paper than a new memo book. So it's 30 more than the memo book. So, and now when you have the word more than, they're probably going to switch. Like right now I would write that 30 more than is plus, and then new memo book is the M. But since they said more than, they'll probably switch these two here because of the word more than. So instead of S equals 30 plus M, it could be written M plus 30. Okay, just keep an eye out for that. On the next one, if you look, it said, the next sentence says the total number of sheets of paper in 3 new spiral books. So 3 of the S's. So 3S. I'll put it right here. 3S. And 5 new memo books. So plus 5 of these M's is 810. So a total of 810, and then they want to know which 2 equations would work. Remember, systems are just your 2 equations. So let's see, for sure it's probably, let's see, now they could be this one because they may have subtracted the M from both sides. The 3S and the 5M are together in the 810. So I'm not going to rule out A because they may have moved the M over. So let's look at another one. B is S plus M equals 30. No, if we move the M over, it'd be minus M to both sides. The 3S to 5M, okay, so this is wrong though, this part right there. Here, S minus M is 30. Again, that might be possible. They might have subtracted M from both sides. But look at the S. The S is with the 5, they're saying, and 5 should be with the M. So that's wrong. These are wrong here. So that's out. Here, S plus M equals 30. No, we had talked about that in the B, that it can't be a plus. If you're going to move the M over, you're going to subtract M from both sides. So it can't be this one either. So the best choice is A. Number 11 would be answer choice A. Because what they did with this one, again, is they moved the M over. And sometimes they'll do that just to kind of mess with you. They'll move a variable over to the other side. So think about it. They added M, you would do the opposite and subtract M. So it would be S minus M equals 30. So a pretty tough one. You got to really know your algebra for number 11. All right, so let's look at number 12. It says the student graphs the following two functions on the same coordinate grid. Here they are, x and 1/2 x plus 3. Which statement is true? So we're looking for a true statement. They're using words like vertical shift, which is like a translation, so shift 3 units up. Compression means it got less steep by 1/2. And then, you know, you can kind of read through them. So let's go ahead and graph it, though, to kind of see what happened. I'm going to go to the Graph app. I'm going to hit Control-N. Back to the Graph app. Now, these start with f of x, and it says equals x. So I don't need to go to relations. I can just, there's my f of x equals x. Hit the Tab key. The other one says g of x, and that's the same as f of x. You can actually change the f to a g if you want, but it's not necessary. You just need to type in the 1/2 x plus 3. So control divide 1/2 x plus 3. So you can see this is the original function, and now look at this function. So if you actually grab your line here where the little arrows are showing, you can see that you would have to compress it. Let me grab that line. You would have to make it go less steep for it to have the same slope. And then you would have to actually shift it up 1, 2, 3 units. So see, I would have to compress it a little bit more just to make them the same, and then move it up. And so it did compression and a vertical shift up. And so let's look at our answer choices. This one said vertical shift up, and then a compression by a factor of 1/2. So it's the very first one. Correct answer is A. This one said it stretched. That's wrong. This one said it moved down. That's wrong. And this one said it shifted only 1/2 unit. Oh, down. That's wrong. So you can kind of see the rest of them are. The best one would be that it shifted up 3 and it compressed by a factor of 1/2. All right. So let's look at question number 13 next. Almost done here. Bear with us. 13, it says which graph represents the solution to the following system of inequalities. System again. There's that word again. It means 2 or more inequalities. And you do have 2. You have one here and you have one here. And then you want to see which one of these graphs would match. And remember, when you graph 2 of these, you have to do the overlapping shading only. So let's look at this. Let's graph it. We are going to have to use relations because they're not solved for y. Now I am going to clear this out real quick. So hit the delete button, go to relations, and type in x plus y is greater than or equal to 2. So x plus y greater than or equal to 2. Hit the tab key. Let's type in 4x plus y greater than or equal to -1. 4x plus y greater than, was that a greater than? Equal, greater than equal to -1. So greater than equal to -1. Now, if you think about it, where they overlap would be here. Because remember, one shaded blue, one shaded red, red and blue make purple. So the purple area is where the overlapping is. So we're looking for a graph that looks like this. You want to click on the lines to see what kind of lines they are. I see a solid, and I see another solid. So we're looking for 2 solid lines. They intersect. You can even look at the intersection if you wanted. And let's see if it'll give us the intersection here. Click and drag. There it is. We got to intersect at -1, 3. So let's look at our answer choices. See which one looks like this. Here's -1 up 3. Okay, it's not that one. -1, no. -1, 1, 2, 3. Okay, this one intersects right there at -1, 3. They're both solid. One's going down like that, and the shading is in the right place. So the correct answer for number 13 would be D. All right, so let's look at number 14 next. 14, it says the graph of g of x is the graph of the linear parent function f of x equals x after a vertical stretch of a scale factor of 3. and a vertical shift of 5 units down. And then what is g of x? So g of x are the functions, like these graphs over here. So you want to graph your parent, and then you want to see which one would do a vertical stretch. Now, if you think about it, these are your linear functions, and linear functions are this equation here. And when you do a stretch, you're affecting the slope. So that would be this number here. When you do a stretch, it's going to affect your slope. And it does tell you by a factor of 3. Well, your parent has a slope of 1. This is the parent slope. So if you're going to factor, means you're going to multiply 1 times 3. That means this should be 3. Now, they want it to shift down, 5 units down, so that's going to affect your y-intercept. This is your y-intercept, and so this will affect and shift down. They want it to go down. So y-intercept must go down. That means that instead of plus, that you should have a subtraction symbol here, and they tell you by 5. So actually we're looking for an equation that looks like this. Now if you're not able to figure that out yourself, then what you can do is graph the parent. And again, always clear out your graphs so there's no confusion with your graphs. So I'm typing the parent. I'm going to hit tab. I'm going to type in the answer, which I think is this one right here, B. I'm thinking it's this one. So 3x take away 5, to see if it got steeper. Stretch means steeper. Yep. So see, here's your parent, and if you could take that parent where the little arrows are, kind of put your hand there and do a control click, you can see that you would need to make it steeper. Stretch. Rotation upwards, that's steeper. You would have to stretch it, and you would have to shift it down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for it to match up with the other function. So that is the correct answer. And again, if you didn't know how to kind of change the numbers here based on just the words, then you could graph your parent and then graph each one until you saw that stretch and that vertical shift 5 units down. So the correct answer is B for number 14. All right, we're on the last question, number 15. It says, which coordinate pairs is the solution set to the following system of inequalities? There's that word system again. It just means 2 or more inequalities. In this case, there's 2. Here's 1, here's 2. Solution means points, like coordinates. And there are a lot of coordinates, and it depends on where the shading overlap for these. So we would graph each one. Again, go to the graph app, do a Control-N, clear everything out. Let's see, have they been solved for y? Yep, these have been solved for y, so we can actually just graph them at the beginning here. I'm going to hit delete, look for y is less than, and type in 2x take away 1. Hit enter, go to tab, type in y is greater than or equal to 10 minus x. Y is greater than or equal to 10 take away x, so 10 take away x. And over here is going to be your solution set. Now I probably would zoom out of that so I can see more of the graph. So I'm going to go to zoom out, and I'm going to click over here because I'm looking for points that will land here. So they do give you some options to choose. For number 15, the correct answer was C. So I just want you to see that all you would have to do is go to Menu, go to Geometry, go to Points, hit the open parentheses, type in C, which is 7, 7. So 7, enter, 7, enter. And you can see that that point ended up in the overlapping shaded area. Remember the purple area. So the correct answer there was C. Alright, I hope you enjoyed this review. Those of you who are going to retest, you will do so tomorrow. So hope you took good notes and study tonight. See you tomorrow. Good luck on the test.